Part 1. Introduction. Chapter 1. The Intersection of Philosophy and Christianity. Welcome to our journey through the fascinating world where philosophy and Christianity meet. Imagine a crossroad where two paths converge. One path is philosophy, a road paved with deep questions about life, reality, and existence. The other is Christianity, a path guided by faith, scripture, and the teachings of Jesus Christ. Where these paths cross, that's where our story unfolds. Philosophy, since ancient times, has been like a quest, where thinkers, using reason and inquiry, seek understanding about the world and our place in it. They ask questions like, what is real? How do we know what's true, and what makes a good life? These questions don't just live in the mind, they touch every part of our existence. Christianity, on the other hand, offers answers rooted in the life and teachings of Jesus, the Bible, and centuries of theological thought. It provides a framework for understanding the world, our purpose, and how we should live. Christianity isn't just a set of beliefs, it's a way of life shaped by faith and community. Now, you might think philosophy and Christianity are completely different, but they share a common ground. Both seek truth, explore the meaning of existence, and strive for a deeper understanding of the human experience. Throughout history, great thinkers have stood at this intersection, blending philosophical ideas with Christian beliefs. They've shown us that philosophy can enrich faith, and faith can give depth to philosophical thought. We will explore how these two paths come together. We'll see how philosophy has influenced Christian thought, and how Christianity has shaped philosophical ideas. We're not just talking about a simple exchange of ideas. It's a rich, ongoing conversation that has shaped cultures, sparked debates, and driven people to seek deeper understanding. As we delve into this meeting of minds, remember, it's not about finding definitive answers. It's about appreciating the journey, understanding different perspectives, and exploring the profound questions that have captivated humans for centuries. So, let's embark on this adventure with open minds and hearts, ready to discover the beauty and complexity at the intersection of philosophy and Christianity. Chapter 2. Historical Context and Importance of Dialogue. Our journey through the worlds of philosophy and Christianity takes us back in time. History has a lot to teach us about how these two realms have interacted. Think of history as a grand tapestry. Each thread represents a different idea or belief. Philosophy and Christianity are like two vibrant threads, weaving in and out, sometimes running parallel, sometimes intersecting. Long ago, even before the time of Jesus, philosophers in ancient Greece were already asking big questions about life, truth, and what it means to be good. Their ideas laid the groundwork for much of Western thought. Fast forward a few centuries, and Christianity begins to emerge. As it grows, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It rubs shoulders with the philosophical ideas of the time, borrowing, adapting, and sometimes challenging them. As we move through history, especially during the Middle Ages, the bond between philosophy and Christianity grows stronger. Great Christian thinkers like Augustine and Aquinas are not just theologians, they are also philosophers. They use philosophy to explain and defend Christian beliefs. They show that faith and reason are not enemies, but allies in the search for truth. Then comes the Renaissance, a time of awakening, where old ideas are questioned and new ones are born. Here, the dialogue between philosophy and Christianity becomes even more vibrant. Philosophers start to explore ideas about human nature, knowledge, and the world, sometimes agreeing with Christian views, other times challenging them. This conversation continues through the Enlightenment and into the modern era. New philosophical ideas emerge, like existentialism and phenomenology, offering fresh perspectives on age-old questions. Christianity too evolves, responding to these new ideas, sometimes adapting, other times holding firm to tradition. The importance of this dialogue cannot be overstated. When philosophy and Christianity talk to each other, when they challenge and inspire one another, we get a richer, more nuanced understanding of the world. This dialogue helps us see things from different angles, whether we're believers, skeptics, or somewhere in between. But why does this matter to us now? Well, it's because these conversations shape the world we live in. The ideas born from the interplay of philosophy and Christianity influence laws, ethics, education, and even how we see ourselves. Understanding this historical dialogue helps us understand our own place in the world. It shows us that our beliefs and ideas are part of a much larger conversation, one that's been going on for centuries and continues to this day. So, as we delve deeper into the worlds of philosophy and Christianity, remember that we're part of this grand, ongoing dialogue. Our thoughts and beliefs today are the latest contributions to a conversation that has shaped and been shaped by some of the greatest minds in history. Part 2. Philosophical Foundations, Pre-Socratics to Aristotle. Chapter 3. The Dawn of Western Philosophy, Pre-Socratics. Our journey now takes us to the very beginnings of Western philosophy, to a time before Socrates, a period known as the era of the Pre-Socratics. These early philosophers living in ancient Greece were the first to seek answers to big questions, using reason and observation, rather than myths or the supernatural. The Pre-Socratics were curious about the world around them. They asked, what is everything made of, and how did the universe begin? Their answers laid the foundation for all of Western philosophy. For instance, Thales, one of the earliest known philosophers, believed that everything in the world was made from water. Anaximander, another philosopher, thought that our world was just one of many, arising from something eternal and boundless, he called the apeiron. These thinkers were not just interested in what things are made of, they also pondered the nature of change and permanence. Heraclitus famously said, "You cannot step into the same river twice," suggesting that everything is in constant flux. In contrast, Parmenides argued that change is an illusion and that true reality is unchanging. What's fascinating is how these early ideas echo through time and influence Christian thought. For example, the idea of a single, unchanging truth can be seen in the Christian belief in an eternal, unchanging God. The Pre-Socratics' exploration of the natural world paved the way for later Christian philosophers to understand God's creation through reason and observation. Though the Pre-Socratics themselves were not Christians, their spirit of inquiry and use of reason set the stage for a way of thinking that would be crucial for Christian philosophy. They showed that it's possible to look at the world and seek to understand it through logic and reasoning, rather than relying solely on faith or tradition. Understanding the Pre-Socratics helps us see how philosophy got its start, and how their pioneering ideas still resonate in the way we think about the world and our faith today. Their legacy is a testament to the power of human curiosity and the enduring quest to understand the mysteries of life and existence. Chapter 4. Socratic Philosophy and Christian Thought. Let's turn now to Socrates, a figure often seen as a turning point in Western philosophy. Socrates, who lived in Athens, Greece, never wrote down his thoughts. What we know of him comes from his students, like Plato. He's famous for his method of questioning, a way of exploring ideas by asking questions that probe deeper and deeper. This method wasn't just about seeking knowledge, it was about understanding how to live a good and virtuous life. Socrates believed that an unexamined life is not worth living. He spent his days in Athens asking people about their beliefs on justice, virtue, and the best way to live. His style was not to tell people what to think, but to challenge them to think for themselves, to question their assumptions and get to the truth. This approach has a special connection to Christian thought. In Christianity, the pursuit of truth and wisdom is also valued highly. The teachings of Jesus, like the parables, often encourage followers to think deeply about moral and spiritual truths. Socrates' emphasis on moral introspection and the pursuit of virtue can be seen as aligning with Christian ideals of seeking moral goodness and living a life reflective of spiritual values. Moreover, Socrates' focus on the soul resonates with Christian teachings. He believed that caring for the soul, nurturing its virtues, and seeking wisdom were the highest goals one could pursue. This idea of nurturing the soul finds a parallel in the Christian emphasis on spiritual growth and the pursuit of a life aligned with God's will. Socrates' legacy is not just in the content of his philosophy, but in his method of engaging with ideas. His approach encourages us not to accept things at face value, but to question, explore, and seek deeper understanding. This method of inquiry has been influential in the Christian intellectual tradition, encouraging believers to engage critically and thoughtfully with their faith. In summary, Socrates' philosophy, with its emphasis on virtue, the care of the soul, and the pursuit of truth through questioning, has profoundly influenced Christian thought. His approach teaches us the importance of seeking a deeper understanding of our beliefs and living a life that reflects our highest values. Chapter 5. Plato's Realm of Forms and Christian Interpretation. Now, let's explore Plato, a student of Socrates and a towering figure in philosophy. Plato's ideas have deeply influenced Christian thought, especially his theory of forms. To understand this, picture two worlds, the world we live in and a perfect, unchanging world that exists beyond our senses. According to Plato, the world we experience through our senses is always changing and is just a shadow of a more real world. This real world is made of perfect forms or ideas that are eternal and unchanging. For example, consider a beautiful painting. According to Plato, the beauty in that painting is just a reflection of the perfect form of beauty that exists in that other world. How does this connect to Christianity? Well, early Christian thinkers found in Plato's idea of forms a way to think about God's nature and the concept of heaven. They saw God as the ultimate source of all these perfect forms. Just like Plato's forms are the highest and most real things, God is the highest and most real being. The idea of heaven in Christianity can be seen as somewhat similar to Plato's world of forms, a perfect, unchanging, and eternal realm. Moreover, Plato's emphasis on the soul and its journey towards understanding these forms resonates with the Christian focus on the soul's journey towards God. Plato believed that our souls are eternal and that true knowledge comes from remembering the forms we knew before we were born into this physical world. In Christianity, the soul's eternal nature and its journey towards union with God are central. Plato also influenced Christian ethics, his vision of the ideal state, where philosopher kings rule wisely and justly, inspired Christian ideas about leadership and the moral responsibilities of rulers. His understanding of virtue and the good life, where one aligns with the eternal forms, has parallels in the Christian pursuit of a life aligned with divine will. Plato's impact on Christianity is profound. His ideas provided early Christian thinkers with a framework to articulate their understanding of God, the soul, and the moral life. While not all of Plato's ideas were adopted or agreed upon by Christian thinkers, his influence is undeniable, providing a philosophical foundation that would shape Christian thought for centuries. Chapter 6. Aristotle's Metaphysics and Ethics in Christian Perspective. Moving forward from Plato, we encounter Aristotle, his student, who is another giant in the world of philosophy. Aristotle's ideas, especially his metaphysics and ethics, have significantly influenced Christian thought. Aristotle's metaphysics, his study of what it means to exist and what kinds of things exist, presents a view of the world where everything has a purpose or an end. He believed that everything in nature has a specific function and a natural way of being. This includes us, humans. For Aristotle, understanding our purpose and fulfilling it is key to living a good life. In Christian thought, this idea resonated deeply. It aligned with the belief that God created the world with a purpose and that everything in creation, including humans, has a role to play in this divine plan. The Christian idea of living in a way that fulfills God's will can be seen as parallel to Aristotle's idea of living according to our nature and purpose. Aristotle's ethics, which focuses on virtues and developing good character, also found a welcoming home in Christian teachings. He argued that being virtuous isn't just about following rules, but about developing a good character through habits. By practicing virtues like courage, moderation, and generosity, we can become better people and lead a fulfilling life. This idea of virtue ethics was influential in the development of Christian moral teaching. The concept of living a life that reflects Christian virtues like love, hope, and faith echoes Aristotle's emphasis on character and habit. Christians saw in Aristotle's ethics a way to understand how to live a life that reflects Christ's teachings. However, it's important to note that Aristotle's ideas were not always in perfect harmony with Christian beliefs. For instance, his view of the universe as eternal was at odds with the Christian belief in creation. Despite these differences, Christian thinkers, most notably Thomas Aquinas, found ways to integrate and reinterpret Aristotle's philosophy in a way that complemented Christian doctrine. Aristotle's impact on Christian philosophy shows us how ideas from different traditions can come together. His thoughts on purpose, virtue, and the good life provided a rich resource for Christians to explore and articulate their understanding of what it means to live according to God's plan. His influence demonstrates how philosophy can enrich faith, offering tools and concepts to deepen our understanding of religious beliefs. Part 3. Christian Philosophy in the Middle Ages. Chapter 7. Augustine of Hippo, the Christianization of Platonic thought. Let's dive into the Middle Ages, a time when Christian philosophy really began to flourish. One of the most influential figures of this era was Augustine of Hippo, a philosopher and theologian whose work left a lasting mark on both Christianity and Western thought. Augustine lived in a time when the Roman Empire was in decline and Christianity was on the rise. He was deeply influenced by Platonic thought, which he encountered through the writings of philosophers like Plotinus. But Augustine did something remarkable. He took Platonic ideas and wove them into a Christian framework, creating a unique blend of philosophy and theology. In Plato's philosophy, Augustine found a way to articulate key Christian concepts. For example, Plato's idea of the world of forms, a realm of perfect and unchanging ideas, helped Augustine explain the nature of God. He saw God as the ultimate source of all perfection, much like Plato's perfect forms. Augustine also used Plato's ideas to talk about the human soul, its immortality, and its longing for the divine. One of Augustine's most famous works is his Confessions, which is not just an autobiography, but also a philosophical and theological exploration of his journey to faith. In it, he wrestles with big questions about evil, free will, and the nature of God. His approach to these topics shows a deep engagement with philosophical ideas, all framed within his Christian beliefs. Augustine's influence extends far beyond his time. His way of integrating Platonic philosophy with Christian theology paved the way for future thinkers to explore how other philosophical ideas could be reconciled with faith. He showed that philosophy and religion don't have to be at odds. In fact, philosophy can deepen our understanding of religious truths. Augustine's life and work remind us that the search for truth can take many forms. He was a thinker who wasn't afraid to use the tools of philosophy to explore and express his faith, and by doing so he enriched both disciplines. His legacy is a testament to the power of bringing together different ways of understanding the world. Chapter 8. Boethius and the Consolation of Philosophy. Now let's turn our attention to Boethius, an influential philosopher and statesman in the early 6th century. His most famous work, The Consolation of Philosophy, was written during a time of personal crisis while he was imprisoned under the charge of treason. This book is a remarkable blend of philosophy, poetry, and personal reflection, and it holds a special place in Christian philosophy. In The Consolation of Philosophy, Boethius reflects on various themes such as fortune, happiness, and the nature of good and evil. He does this through a dialogue with Lady Philosophy, a personification of wisdom. She guides him, offering comfort and insight into his plight. The book is unique because it isn't explicitly Christian. It doesn't directly refer to Christian doctrine or scripture. Yet, its themes deeply resonate with Christian thought. Boethius ponders on the fleeting nature of worldly fortunes and concludes that true happiness can only be found in something eternal and unchangeable. This idea echoes the Christian pursuit of eternal life with God, who is the ultimate source of all goodness and stability. Boethius also explores the idea of providence, the divine wisdom guiding the universe, which aligns with the Christian understanding of God's omnipotence and benevolence. What makes Boethius's work profoundly influential is how it bridges the classical and medieval worlds. He draws from ancient philosophers like Plato and Aristotle, and his work would later inspire many medieval Christian thinkers. It's a reminder that wisdom and insight can be found even in times of personal hardship, and that philosophical reflection can offer consolation and understanding. The Consolation of Philosophy has been a source of inspiration and comfort to many over the centuries, both within and outside the Christian tradition. It shows us that philosophical inquiry can address the deepest human concerns and can be a companion in times of struggle. Boethius, in his contemplation and writing, left a legacy that continues to offer insight into the human condition and the search for meaning. Chapter 9. Aquinas' synthesis of Aristotle and Christian doctrine. We now explore the work of Thomas Aquinas, a towering figure in medieval philosophy and theology. Aquinas achieved something remarkable in his time. He brought together the philosophy of Aristotle with Christian doctrine, creating a synthesis that has deeply influenced Western thought. Aquinas lived in the 13th century, a time when Aristotle's works, which had been largely forgotten in Western Europe, were being rediscovered. Aquinas was fascinated by Aristotle's ideas, especially his views on the natural world, ethics, and metaphysics. But Aquinas didn't just study Aristotle. He integrated these ideas with his Christian beliefs, creating a comprehensive philosophical and theological system. One of Aquinas' key contributions is his explanation of how faith and reason can work together. He argued that there's no conflict between reason, which can be used to understand the world, and faith, which provides truths beyond human reasoning. For Aquinas, both faith and reason come from God, so they cannot contradict each other. Aquinas also used Aristotle's ideas to explain Christian doctrines. For example, he used Aristotle's concept of potentiality and actuality to articulate his understanding of the nature of God. He explained that God, being pure actuality with no potentiality, is the unchanging and eternal source of all things. In ethics, Aquinas developed the idea of natural law, using Aristotle's concepts to argue that humans have an innate understanding of right and wrong. The impact of Aquinas' work is profound. He showed that Christian theology could engage deeply with philosophical ideas, using them to clarify and defend the faith. His approach encouraged Christians to see philosophy not as a threat, but as a tool to better understand and express their beliefs. Aquinas' legacy is a testament to the power of intellectual openness and integration. His ability to bring together different streams of thought into a harmonious vision of faith and reason continues to inspire and challenge thinkers to this day. His work is a reminder of the richness that comes from combining different perspectives and seeking a deeper understanding of truth. Chapter 10. Mystical Theology. Eckhart, Julian of Norwich, and others. In this part of our journey, we explore the mystical side of Christian philosophy in the Middle Ages, focusing on figures like Meister Eckhart and Julian of Norwich, among others. Mystical theology is a unique blend of philosophy and spirituality, where the focus is on the direct personal experience of the divine. Meister Eckhart, a German theologian and philosopher, is known for his profound and sometimes enigmatic teachings. He spoke of the soul's union with God and the experience of the divine presence in all things. Eckhart's philosophy delves into concepts like detachment, where the soul lets go of all worldly things to experience God more fully. His teachings emphasize the inner spiritual life, suggesting that true understanding comes from a deep experiential knowledge of God. Then there's Julian of Norwich, an English mystic whose writings offer a compassionate and hopeful view of Christianity. She is best known for her book, Revelations of Divine Love, which is one of the earliest English works by a woman. Julian writes about her visions of Jesus Christ and conveys a message of God's love and the assurance that all shall be well. Her theology is notable for its emphasis on God's goodness and love, which was a comforting perspective during the turbulent times she lived in. Mystical theologians like Eckhart and Julian of Norwich provide a different lens through which to view Christian philosophy. Their work is less about the rational analysis of doctrine and more about the direct, experiential understanding of God. They remind us that Christianity is not just a set of beliefs to be understood intellectually, but a living, dynamic relationship with the divine. The contributions of these mystics are significant because they add depth and richness to Christian philosophy. They challenge us to move beyond intellectual understanding to a more profound, personal encounter with the divine. Their teachings continue to inspire and influence not just theology, but also the broader fields of philosophy and spirituality, offering insights into the nature of the divine-human relationship and the journey of the soul. Part 4. Renaissance and Reformation Thought. Chapter 11. Humanism's Impact on Christian Philosophy. As we enter the Renaissance, a period of great cultural and intellectual awakening in Europe, we encounter humanism. This movement significantly impacted Christian philosophy, bringing fresh perspectives and new ways of thinking. Humanism was characterized by a renewed interest in the classical texts of ancient Greece and Rome. Humanists focused on human values and the potential for individual achievement, often emphasizing the importance of this life, here and now, rather than just the afterlife. This shift led to a more personal, individual approach to religion and spirituality. One of the key aspects of humanism was the emphasis on education and the study of the humanities, literature, history, philosophy, and the arts. Humanists believed that by studying these subjects, people could develop their moral and intellectual capacities to their fullest. This had a profound effect on Christian philosophy. It encouraged a more personal and direct engagement with the biblical texts, as humanists believed in going back to the sources, or ad fontes, to understand the true message of Christianity. Humanism also contributed to a more critical and questioning attitude towards traditional church teachings and practices. This was not necessarily about challenging the faith itself, but about reforming the church to align more closely with the original teachings of Christianity. The humanist emphasis on individual judgment and critical thinking paved the way for the Reformation, where calls for reform in the church would lead to significant religious and cultural shifts. Moreover, humanism's emphasis on the dignity and worth of the individual resonated with Christian teachings about the value of each person. This led to a more human-centered understanding of Christianity, where the focus was not just on religious rituals and dogma, but on living a life that reflected Christ's teachings of love, compassion, and mercy. In summary, humanism had a lasting impact on Christian philosophy. It brought a renewed focus on the individual's relationship with God, encouraged a return to the original sources of Christian teachings, and fostered a spirit of inquiry and reform. These contributions helped shape a more personal, thoughtful, and dynamic form of Christianity. Chapter 12. Erasmus and the Christian Critique of Scholasticism. In this chapter, we focus on Desiderius Erasmus, a pivotal figure in the Renaissance and a major contributor to Christian philosophy. Erasmus, known for his wit and intellectual depth, played a key role in critiquing scholasticism, the dominant form of theology and philosophy in the medieval church. Scholasticism was a method of learning that emphasized logical argumentation and was heavily influenced by earlier thinkers like Aristotle. It was an approach that sought to understand Christian doctrine through a rigorous, systematic, and often highly technical examination of theological issues. While scholasticism had its strengths, by the time of the Renaissance, many felt it had become overly complex and disconnected from everyday life and spirituality. Erasmus, with his humanist leanings, championed a return to a simpler, more heartfelt Christianity. He believed that the essence of Christian faith was not in abstract theological debates, but in living a life that emulated Christ. Erasmus emphasized moral and spiritual reform, both in the individual and the church. He argued for a Christianity that was accessible to the common person, not just scholars and clergy. One of his most significant contributions was the call for a return to the sources, ad fontes, which meant going back to the original texts of the Bible and the Church Fathers. Erasmus himself produced a Greek New Testament, which was a critical tool for Bible study and played a vital role in the Reformation. Erasmus's critique of scholasticism was not an outright rejection, but a call for balance. He saw the value in rigorous scholarship, but believed it should serve to deepen faith and understanding, not replace them. His work paved the way for a more human-centered approach to Christianity, where personal faith, ethical living, and a direct relationship with Scripture were given prominence. Through his writings and actions, Erasmus left a lasting legacy in Christian philosophy. He showed that faith could be both intellectually rigorous and deeply personal. His critique of scholasticism and emphasis on a return to the sources continue to influence Christian thought, reminding us of the importance of balancing scholarly inquiry with heartfelt devotion. Chapter 13. Martin Luther's Theological Revolution. Martin Luther, a German monk and theologian, is a central figure in the history of Christian philosophy, known for sparking the Protestant Reformation. His actions and teachings brought about a seismic shift, not just in the Church, but in the entire landscape of Christian thought. Luther's journey began with his deep personal struggles with faith and salvation. He was troubled by the Church's teachings on sin and redemption, particularly the practice of selling indulgences, which were claimed to reduce punishment for sins. Luther saw these practices as corrupt and contrary to the teachings of the Bible. In 1517, Luther nailed his famous 95 Theses to the door of the Wittenberg Castle Church. This document criticized various church practices and emphasized the importance of faith and Scripture. Luther's key assertion was that salvation comes through faith in Jesus Christ, not through good works or the Church's sacraments. This idea, known as justification by faith alone, was revolutionary. Luther also championed the idea of sola scriptura, or Scripture alone. He believed that the Bible, not church tradition or papal authority, should be the sole authority in matters of faith and practice. This led to his translation of the Bible into German, making it accessible to ordinary people for the first time. Luther's teachings had profound implications. They shifted the focus from the institutional church and its rituals to a personal, direct relationship with God. This individualistic approach to faith was a significant departure from the prevailing church-centric view of the time. The Reformation, initiated by Luther, led to the establishment of Protestantism, which brought about diverse interpretations of Christianity. It encouraged people to read and interpret the Bible for themselves, fostering a more personal and varied understanding of faith. Luther's legacy in Christian philosophy is immense. His emphasis on faith, Scripture, and the individual's relationship with God reshaped the way Christianity is understood and practiced. He showed that religious beliefs could be challenged and reformed, paving the way for new interpretations and expressions of Christian faith. His actions remind us of the power of conviction and the potential for religious thought to evolve and adapt in response to changing times and understandings. Chapter 14. John Calvin and the Reformed Tradition. John Calvin, a French theologian and reformer, played a crucial role in the development of the Reformed tradition within Christianity. His work, particularly his seminal book, Institutes of the Christian Religion, has had a lasting impact on Christian philosophy and theology. Calvin's approach to Christianity was deeply influenced by the broader Reformation movement, which sought to return to the principles of Scripture and reform church practices. However, Calvin brought his unique perspective, emphasizing the sovereignty and omnipotence of God and the doctrine of predestination. This doctrine suggests that God has preordained everything that happens, including who will receive salvation. Calvin's teachings focused on the absolute power and grace of God. He argued that humans are inherently sinful and cannot achieve salvation through their own efforts. Instead, salvation is a gift from God, granted to those whom He has chosen. This view shifted the focus from human actions to God's will, underscoring the idea of dependency on divine grace. Another key aspect of Calvin's philosophy was his emphasis on the importance of Scripture as the sole authority in matters of faith and conduct. He advocated for a clear, direct understanding of the Bible and promoted its teachings as the ultimate guide for Christian living. Calvin also believed in the importance of a disciplined moral life, seeing it as an expression of one's faith and gratitude towards God. Calvin's influence extended beyond theology into the organization of the church and society. He was instrumental in setting up a form of church governance that emphasized the role of a collective of elders, or presbyters, in church decision-making. This model had a significant impact on the development of Protestant churches, especially in the Presbyterian and Reformed traditions. The Calvinist tradition, with its focus on the sovereignty of God, the centrality of Scripture, and the importance of a disciplined moral life, has been influential in shaping not only religious thought, but also various aspects of Western culture, including work ethics, education, and governance. John Calvin's legacy in Christian philosophy is marked by his rigorous intellectual approach to theology and his commitment to reforming the Church according to biblical principles. His work remains a cornerstone of the Reformed tradition, illustrating the enduring power of religious thought to shape beliefs, communities, and societies. Part 5. Enlightenment and the Age of Reason. Chapter 15. The Rise of Rationalism and its Implications for Faith. As we move into the Enlightenment, a period also known as the Age of Reason, we encounter a significant shift in the way people approached knowledge and belief. This era saw the rise of rationalism, a philosophical viewpoint that emphasizes reason as the primary source of knowledge and truth. Rationalists like René Descartes, Baruch Spinoza, and Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz believed that through the use of reason alone, without relying on sensory experience, one could arrive at fundamental truths about the world. Descartes' famous statement, "I think, therefore I am," encapsulates this focus on reason as the basis for understanding one's existence and reality. This emphasis on reason had profound implications for faith. Rationalism challenged many traditional religious beliefs, which were often based on scripture, tradition, or church authority. The rationalists argued that knowledge should not be accepted without rational proof. This approach led to questioning and sometimes skepticism about various aspects of religious doctrine, such as the existence of God, the nature of the soul, and the immortality of life after death. However, it's important to note that not all rationalists rejected faith. Many, like Descartes, tried to use rationalism to defend and prove the tenets of Christianity. They sought to find a rational foundation for their beliefs, arguing that reason and faith could coexist harmoniously. The rise of rationalism marked a turning point in the history of ideas. It encouraged people to question and think critically about their beliefs, whether religious or secular. This shift towards a more questioning and individualistic approach to knowledge and belief paved the way for modern scientific inquiry and philosophical thought. The impact of rationalism on faith was significant. It led to a re-evaluation of religious beliefs and doctrines, prompting some to find new ways to understand and articulate their faith in rational terms. The era of rationalism reminds us of the enduring quest for knowledge and the ongoing dialogue between faith and reason. Chapter 16. Empiricism, Challenging the Foundations of Religious Belief. Empiricism, a significant philosophical movement during the Enlightenment, brought a new perspective to understanding the world and challenged traditional religious beliefs. Unlike rationalism, which emphasizes reason as the primary source of knowledge, empiricism asserts that knowledge comes from sensory experience. Key figures in empiricism like John Locke, George Berkeley, and David Hume argued that everything we know is rooted in what we can see, hear, touch, and experience. This approach raised questions about religious beliefs that are based on faith or revelation rather than empirical evidence. John Locke, for instance, while a believer himself, suggested that our understanding of the world should be based on observations and experiences. He believed that human minds at birth are like blank slates, devoid of innate ideas, with knowledge being built over time through experiences. George Berkeley took a somewhat different approach. He argued that material objects exist only insofar as they are perceived by the senses. While this might seem to challenge religious belief, Berkeley maintained that the consistent orderliness of sensory experiences could only be explained by the existence of a constant observer, which he identified as God. David Hume, however, was more critical. He is famous for his skepticism about religion, particularly miracles. Hume argued that since miracles are violations of the laws of nature, as established by consistent and universal experience, they should not be believed unless the evidence is as strong as those laws themselves, which is rarely the case. The impact of empiricism on religious thought was profound. It prompted many to question the validity of religious beliefs that couldn't be proven or observed. This led to a period of intense debate between faith and reason, belief and skepticism. Yet empiricism also contributed positively to religious thought. It encouraged religious thinkers to consider the importance of tangible, lived experience in understanding faith and God. It brought attention to the ways in which religious beliefs and practices could be grounded in and informed by the reality of everyday experience. Empiricism, with its focus on experience and observation, played a crucial role in shaping modern thought, including the ways we understand and practice religion. It reminds us of the importance of questioning and critically examining our beliefs, whether they are based on faith or empirical evidence. Chapter 17. The Enlightenment's Challenge to Christian Orthodoxy. The Enlightenment, a period marked by an emphasis on reason, science, and individualism, presented significant challenges to Christian orthodoxy, the traditional and established beliefs of the Church. This era fostered a climate of questioning and skepticism, not just about religion, but about all forms of traditional authority. During the Enlightenment, thinkers like Voltaire, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and Immanuel Kant explored ideas that often ran counter to traditional Christian teachings. They questioned the role of the Church, the nature of God, and the basis of moral authority. For example, Voltaire, with his sharp wit, criticized the Church and religious intolerance, advocating for freedom of thought and expression. One of the key challenges from the Enlightenment was the problem of evil. Philosophers questioned how a benevolent and omnipotent God could allow suffering and injustice in the world. This led to intense debates about the nature of God, free will, and the existence of evil, challenging the Church to defend its teachings and doctrines. The Enlightenment also saw the rise of deism, a belief in a God who created the universe but does not intervene in its workings. Deists believed that reason and observation of the natural world, rather than revelation or religious texts, were sufficient to understand the Creator. This idea contrasted with the Christian view of a personal God actively involved in human affairs. Furthermore, the Enlightenment emphasis on individual autonomy and reason had a democratizing effect on religious beliefs. It encouraged people to think for themselves about religious and moral questions, rather than simply accepting the teachings of the Church. The challenges posed by the Enlightenment had a profound impact on Christianity. They forced the Church to confront and engage with new ideas and critiques, leading to various responses, from rejection and opposition to adaptation and reform. This era of questioning and exploration significantly influenced the development of Christian thought, leading to new theological movements and interpretations of Christian doctrine. The Enlightenment's challenge to Christian orthodoxy played a crucial role in shaping the modern dialogue between faith and reason, tradition and innovation, authority and individual belief. Chapter 18. Christian Responses to Enlightenment Critiques. In response to the Enlightenment, which brought forward critiques and challenges to traditional Christian beliefs, the Church and Christian thinkers developed various responses. These responses ranged from outright rejection to thoughtful engagement and reformulation of Christian doctrines. One significant response was the development of apologetics, the intellectual defense of Christian faith. Apologists like William Paley argued for the existence of God using reason and evidence. Paley's famous watchmaker analogy suggested that the complexity and order of the universe pointed to the existence of a divine designer. Another response was the rise of pietism, which emphasized personal faith and devotion over intellectualism. Pietists argued that true Christianity was a matter of the heart, not just the mind, and stressed the importance of a personal experience of God's grace. This movement had a profound impact on the practice of Christianity, focusing on individual conversion and a personal relationship with God. Additionally, some Christian thinkers attempted to reconcile Enlightenment ideas with Christian doctrines. They reinterpreted traditional teachings in light of reason and new scientific understandings. For instance, thinkers like Friedrich Schleiermacher sought to present Christianity in a way that would be acceptable to modern rational people. Schleiermacher argued that religion was rooted in a feeling of absolute dependence on God rather than in doctrinal truths. The Catholic Church also responded to the Enlightenment, though initially with skepticism and opposition, particularly towards ideas that challenged papal authority and traditional doctrines. However, over time, the Church engaged more with Enlightenment ideas, leading to developments like the Vatican I Council, which addressed issues of faith and reason. The Enlightenment period was a time of great intellectual and spiritual ferment, and the variety of Christian responses to it reflected the diversity within Christianity itself. These responses had a lasting impact on the Church and on Christian theology, shaping how faith is understood and practiced in the modern world. They highlight the dynamic nature of religious belief and the capacity of faith traditions to adapt and evolve in response to new ideas and challenges. Part 6. Modern and Contemporary Philosophical Dialogues. Chapter 19. Kierkegaard and the Existential Challenge to Christianity. Søren Kierkegaard, a Danish philosopher from the 19th century, is often regarded as the father of existentialism. His philosophical work presented a profound challenge to Christianity, as it was understood in his time, offering a deeply personal and subjective approach to faith. Kierkegaard was critical of the established church and the way Christianity was practiced. He felt that Christianity had become an institutionalized religion, more concerned with outward rituals and societal norms than with genuine individual faith. He argued that true Christian faith was a deeply personal matter, involving a passionate and subjective relationship with God. One of Kierkegaard's key ideas was the concept of the leap of faith. He believed that faith in God was not something that could be arrived at through reason or evidence. Instead, it required a leap beyond rationality, embracing faith with all its uncertainties and paradoxes. This idea was revolutionary because it challenged the notion that faith could be grounded solely in reason or objective truth. Kierkegaard also explored the concept of individual existence and the anxiety that comes with making choices and defining oneself. He believed that to be a true individual, one must face the anxiety of freedom and take responsibility for one's own existence. This existential perspective emphasized the importance of personal choice and commitment in living an authentic life. His emphasis on individual experience and personal choice in matters of faith had a significant impact on Christian thought. It encouraged a move away from viewing religion as a set of doctrines and rituals and towards understanding it as a personal, existential commitment. Kierkegaard's work resonates in contemporary discussions about the nature of faith and the role of religion in personal life. His existential approach to Christianity challenges believers to engage with their faith on a deeply personal level, embracing the complexities and paradoxes of a relationship with the divine. His writings continue to inspire and challenge, offering a perspective on Christianity that is as relevant today as it was in his time. Chapter 20: Nietzsche's Critique and the Death of God Theology. Friedrich Nietzsche, a German philosopher from the late 19th century, is known for his profound and often controversial critique of Christianity. One of his most famous concepts is the death of God. Nietzsche's statement that God is dead was not a literal claim about a deity, but a metaphorical way of saying that traditional Christian values and beliefs had lost their power in the modern world. Nietzsche saw Christianity as a religion that promoted what he called a slave morality, which valued humility, obedience, and meekness. He believed these values were contrary to the natural life-affirming instincts of power, strength, and self-assertion. For Nietzsche, the Christian moral framework was a denial of life's inherent value and vitality. His critique went beyond moral values to the very foundations of Christian belief. Nietzsche challenged the idea of an objective, universal moral law governed by a divine being. He argued that with the decline of religious belief in the modern age, people needed to find new ways of defining values and meaning in life. Nietzsche's ideas had a significant impact on theology and philosophy. The death of God theology, which emerged in the 20th century, took up Nietzsche's proclamation to explore what the loss of traditional Christian beliefs meant for modern society. Theologians in this tradition considered how to reconstruct Christian faith in a world where the traditional foundations of belief were no longer taken for granted. While Nietzsche was often critical of Christianity, his work prompted deep reflection and discussion about the role and relevance of religion in the modern world. His challenge forced theologians and philosophers to reconsider the basis of their beliefs and the nature of morality in a post-religious world. Nietzsche's critique remains influential today, inviting ongoing debate about the place of religion, the nature of morality, and the search for meaning in a secular age. His work challenges us to confront the fundamental questions about how we define our values and live our lives in a world where traditional structures of belief are continually questioned and re-evaluated. Chapter 21: Phenomenology and Christian Existentialism. Phenomenology, a philosophical movement that emerged in the early 20th century, focuses on the study of human experience and consciousness. It delves into how we perceive and make sense of the world around us. This movement, closely linked with existentialism, has had a notable impact on Christian thought, particularly through the development of Christian existentialism. Phenomenological philosophers like Edmund Husserl and Martin Heidegger sought to explore the structures of experience and consciousness. They emphasized the importance of personal experience and the subjective interpretation of the world. This approach shifted the focus from abstract theorizing to the lived experiences of individuals. Christian existentialism, influenced by phenomenology, integrates this focus on individual experience with Christian beliefs. It emphasizes the personal, subjective aspect of faith, the existential challenges of human life, and the individual's relationship with God. This perspective encourages a form of Christianity that is deeply personal and grounded in the realities of human existence. One of the key figures in Christian existentialism is Karl Jaspers. He explored how existential themes like freedom, anxiety, and the search for meaning intersect with religious beliefs. Jaspers believed that the existential experience of transcendence, or the encounter with something beyond oneself, could lead to a profound understanding of one's relationship with the divine. Another significant contributor is Paul Tillich, a theologian who applied existential and phenomenological ideas to Christian doctrine. He spoke of God not as a being but as the ground of being itself, suggesting that God is intimately connected with the very act of existence. Tillich's approach made Christian theology relevant to contemporary existential concerns, addressing issues like doubt, anxiety, and the search for meaning in modern life. The impact of phenomenology and Christian existentialism on theology has been profound. They have brought attention to the importance of individual experience and the subjective dimensions of faith. This perspective challenges traditional doctrinal approaches, suggesting that religious truth is not just a matter of intellectual belief, but is deeply connected to the complexities and struggles of human life. Through phenomenology and Christian existentialism, we see a Christianity that is responsive to the human condition, offering a framework for understanding and engaging with the existential aspects of life. This approach encourages an exploration of faith that is deeply personal, experiential, and relevant to the challenges of modern living. Chapter 22. Contemporary Analytic Philosophy and Christianity. In the world of modern philosophy, analytic philosophy has emerged as a significant force, characterized by its emphasis on clarity, rigor, and argumentation. This approach to philosophy, focusing mainly on language and logic, has also intersected with Christian thought, leading to new insights and discussions in the field of theology. Analytic philosophers like to dissect and analyze concepts, arguments, and language to understand better and solve philosophical problems. When this method is applied to Christianity, it leads to a precise and detailed examination of religious language, concepts, and beliefs. One area where analytic philosophy has significantly impacted Christian thought is in the philosophy of religion. Here, philosophers use analytic tools to explore and debate concepts like the existence of God, the nature of faith, and the problem of evil. For example, Alvin Plantinga, a prominent figure in this field, has used analytic philosophy to develop sophisticated arguments about the existence of God and the compatibility of faith and reason. Another important contribution of analytic philosophy to Christianity is in the area of ethics. Analytic philosophers have engaged in detailed analysis and discussion about moral concepts and how they apply to Christian teachings and practice. This has led to a more nuanced and sophisticated understanding of Christian ethics. Furthermore, analytic philosophy has contributed to discussions about the interpretation of religious texts. By applying rigorous analysis to biblical texts, philosophers have sought to clarify their meaning and relevance in a contemporary context. This approach has led to a deeper and more thoughtful engagement with Scripture. The interaction between contemporary analytic philosophy and Christianity represents a fruitful dialogue between faith and reason. It shows that rigorous analysis and logical reasoning can enrich theological understanding, offering new ways of articulating and defending Christian beliefs. This approach reminds us that faith and reason are not necessarily in conflict, but can complement each other in the search for truth and understanding. Through the lens of analytic philosophy, Christianity can engage with modern intellectual challenges, making its teachings relevant and accessible to a contemporary audience. Part 7. Philosophy of Religion. Chapter 23. Classical Arguments for God's Existence. In this part of our exploration, we delve into the classical arguments that have been presented over the centuries to prove the existence of God. These arguments have been a central part of philosophical discussions and have shaped much of the debate around the concept of a divine being. One of the earliest and most famous arguments is the ontological argument, introduced by Anselm of Canterbury. Anselm's argument is a bit like a puzzle. It starts with the idea that God is a being, than which nothing greater can be conceived. Anselm argued that if we can conceive of such a great being, then it must exist, because existing in reality is greater than existing only in the mind. Then there's the cosmological argument, which is about the cause of the universe. Thinkers like Thomas Aquinas have argued that everything in the universe has a cause. Since you can't have an infinite chain of causes, there must be a first cause, which is God. This argument looks at the existence of the universe and reasons backward to the existence of a divine creator. Another well-known argument is the teleological argument, or the argument from design. This argument, famously presented by William Paley, suggests that the complexity and order of the universe are not just random. Just like a watch's complexity implies a watchmaker, the complexity of the universe implies an intelligent designer, which is God. Lastly, there's the moral argument, championed by thinkers like Immanuel Kant. This argument starts with the existence of moral laws and reasoning that there must be a moral lawgiver. The idea is that our sense of right and wrong points towards a higher moral authority who is God. These classical arguments for God's existence have been debated, critiqued, and refined over centuries. They represent attempts to use reason and observation to explore one of the most profound questions, the existence of a divine being. While not conclusive to all, these arguments provide significant insights into how human thought has grappled with the concept of God throughout history. They continue to be a starting point for many in the journey of exploring and understanding the possibility of a higher power. Chapter 24. Modern Debates on the Existence of God. In modern times, the debate around the existence of God has taken new directions, influenced by developments in science, philosophy, and theology. These debates often revolve around not just whether God exists, but how God's existence or non-existence aligns with our understanding of the world and human experience. One of the central themes in modern debates is the relationship between science and religion. Some argue that scientific explanations of the universe leave no room for God. They point to theories like evolution and the Big Bang as explanations for the origins of life and the universe that don't require a divine creator. This view is often associated with atheism or agnosticism. On the other hand, there are those who argue that science and religion address different kinds of questions. They suggest that science explains the how of the universe, while religion addresses the why. This perspective sees no contradiction between believing in God and accepting scientific explanations of the world. Another modern debate centers on the concept of God itself. Philosophers and theologians have explored different ideas about what God might be like. Some suggest that traditional concepts of an all-powerful, all-knowing God need to be rethought to align with modern understandings of the world. The issue of religious experience is also a significant part of the modern debate. Some argue that personal experiences of the divine are valid evidence for God's existence. Critics, however, question whether these experiences can be considered reliable evidence, pointing to psychological or neurological explanations for such experiences. In addition, the problem of evil remains a central argument in modern discussions about the existence of God. The existence of suffering and evil in the world is often cited as a challenge to the belief in an all-good, all-powerful deity. The modern debates on the existence of God reflect a complex and ongoing conversation that engages with deep philosophical, scientific, and theological questions. These debates show the evolving nature of the discussion around God and highlight the diverse perspectives and arguments that continue to shape our understanding of the divine in the contemporary world. Chapter 25. The Problem of Evil, Historical and Contemporary Perspectives. The problem of evil is one of the most enduring and challenging issues in the philosophy of religion. It questions how an all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good God can coexist with the presence of evil and suffering in the world. This issue has been a central topic in both historical and contemporary religious debates. Historically, thinkers have approached this problem in various ways. One approach is theodicy, an attempt to justify God's goodness in the face of evil. St. Augustine, for example, argued that evil is not a thing in itself, but a lack or absence of good, much like darkness is the absence of light. He also suggested that God allows evil for the sake of free will, which is necessary for genuine love and goodness. Another historical perspective is that suffering and evil can have a purpose. This view suggests that suffering can lead to spiritual growth, a deeper understanding of God, or is part of a larger divine plan that humans cannot fully comprehend. In contemporary discussions, the problem of evil has been re-examined in light of modern contexts and understandings. Philosophers like Alvin Plantinga have argued for what's known as the free will defense. This argument suggests that free will is a great good, and that it's logically possible for a good God to create beings with free will. However, with free will comes the possibility for evil, as people may choose to do wrong. Another modern take is the process theology perspective, which rethinks the nature of God's power. Process theologians suggest that God's power is not about controlling every aspect of creation, but about persuading and guiding. In this view, God is not responsible for evil, but works to bring good out of it. The problem of evil remains a deeply complex and emotionally charged issue. It continues to challenge theologians, philosophers, and believers to grapple with difficult questions about faith, suffering, and the nature of God. This problem encourages a continuous and evolving dialogue about the mysteries of existence, the nature of the divine, and the human condition. Chapter 26. Faith, Science, and Rationality. The relationship between faith, science, and rationality is a dynamic and often debated topic in the philosophy of religion. This relationship explores how religious beliefs align, conflict, or coexist with scientific understanding and rational thought. Traditionally, faith and science have been viewed as distinct realms. Faith is often associated with belief in the unseen or the supernatural, relying on spiritual conviction rather than empirical evidence. Science, on the other hand, is grounded in observation, experimentation, and empirical evidence. It seeks to understand the world through a process of inquiry and rational explanation. In recent discussions, several viewpoints have emerged about how faith and science relate to each other. One viewpoint is that of conflict, which suggests that science and faith are fundamentally incompatible. This perspective often points to historical conflicts, such as the Galileo affair, as evidence of the inherent tension between scientific inquiry and religious belief. Another viewpoint is that of independence, which argues that science and faith are entirely separate realms that deal with different kinds of questions and therefore do not overlap or conflict. This perspective suggests that science deals with the how of the universe, while faith deals with the why. A third viewpoint is integration or dialogue, where science and faith are seen as complementary ways of understanding the world. Proponents of this view argue that scientific understanding can deepen religious belief, and religious perspectives can inform and enrich our understanding of scientific discoveries. Additionally, the role of rationality in faith has been a subject of significant discussion. Rationality, often associated with logical reasoning and empirical evidence, is sometimes seen as opposed to faith, which is based on belief and trust. However, many theologians and philosophers argue that faith and reason are not mutually exclusive, but are different ways of knowing that can inform and support each other. The exploration of the relationship between faith, science, and rationality encourages a deeper understanding of how we make sense of our world and our existence. It invites ongoing dialogue and reflection on how different ways of knowing can coexist and inform our understanding of life's big questions. This exploration is a key part of the broader discourse in the philosophy of religion, reflecting the diverse and evolving nature of human thought and belief. Part 8. Ethics and Political Philosophy. Chapter 27. Foundations of Christian Ethics. Christian ethics is about understanding what it means to live a good and moral life according to Christian principles. At its core, Christian ethics is deeply rooted in the teachings of Jesus Christ, especially those found in the New Testament, and it's about applying these teachings to our lives and the world around us. One of the central tenets of Christian ethics is the concept of love, often expressed as the love of God and the love of one's neighbor. This idea is famously encapsulated in the commandment to love your neighbor as yourself. This principle of love is not just about feelings, but about action, doing good to others, showing compassion, and seeking justice. Another key aspect is the idea of forgiveness and grace. Christianity teaches that humans are inherently flawed, but can be forgiven through God's grace. This belief encourages a moral outlook that values forgiveness and reconciliation over revenge or punishment. Christian ethics also emphasizes the sanctity of life, the importance of honesty and integrity, and the pursuit of peace and justice. These principles are meant to guide not only personal behavior, but also how Christians engage with broader societal issues. In addition to the teachings of Jesus, Christian ethics also draws on other parts of the Bible, such as the Ten Commandments in the Old Testament, which provide foundational moral guidelines. Over the centuries, various Christian thinkers have also contributed to the development of Christian ethics, interpreting the Bible and applying its teachings to contemporary issues. Christian ethics is dynamic and adaptive, continually engaging with new moral challenges and questions. It's about constantly seeking to understand and live out the principles of love, grace, justice, and compassion in a changing world. This pursuit is at the heart of what it means to lead a moral life guided by Christian principles. Chapter 28. Virtue Ethics and Christian Moral Thought. Virtue ethics is a branch of moral philosophy that focuses on the character of a person rather than specific actions or rules. It's about cultivating good character traits or virtues which enable a person to live a good life. In Christian moral thought, virtue ethics has played a significant role, drawing on both biblical teachings and the works of various Christian philosophers and theologians. At the heart of Christian virtue ethics is the idea that moral living is about more than just following rules or laws. It's about developing a good character that naturally leads to good actions. This approach aligns closely with the teachings of Jesus, who emphasized inner transformation over mere outward compliance with rules. The virtues in Christian ethics often include love, humility, patience, kindness, and forgiveness, among others. These virtues are seen as reflections of the character of God and the life of Jesus Christ. For example, the virtue of love is considered central in Christianity, often depicted in the selfless love of Jesus for humanity. Christian virtue ethics also draws on the tradition of the 7 cardinal virtues, which originated in the teachings of the early Church Fathers. These virtues, which include prudence, justice, temperance, and courage, along with faith, hope, and charity, provide a framework for understanding how to live a virtuous life. Significantly, Christian virtue ethics isn't just about personal morality. It extends to how individuals interact with others and engage in community and societal life. It encourages believers to embody virtues in all aspects of their lives, influencing their decisions, actions, and relationships. Incorporating ideas from philosophers like Aristotle, who also emphasized the importance of virtues, Christian thinkers like Thomas Aquinas further developed this approach, integrating it with theological doctrines. Aquinas, for instance, saw the cultivation of virtues as crucial to achieving the ultimate goal of union with God. Virtue ethics in the Christian context is dynamic, continuously evolving to address new ethical challenges and situations. It offers a way of approaching moral life that emphasizes continuous personal growth and the development of a character that reflects Christian values and teachings. This approach to ethics invites believers to a deeper and more holistic understanding of what it means to lead a good life. Chapter 29. Political Philosophy, the Christian Contribution. The influence of Christian thought on political philosophy has been profound and far-reaching. Over the centuries, Christian ideas have shaped various aspects of political theory, from the nature of government to the rights and responsibilities of individuals and the role of the Church in society. One key contribution of Christian political philosophy is the concept of the inherent dignity and worth of every individual. This idea, rooted in the Christian belief that all people are created in the image of God, has had a significant impact on political theories about human rights and the value of each person in a society. Christian thought has also contributed to the development of the concept of the common good. This idea involves seeking the well-being of all members of society, not just a privileged few. It's about creating a society where everyone has the opportunity to live a fulfilling life. This concept has influenced political discussions about justice, law, and the role of the state in promoting the welfare of its citizens. Another significant aspect is the Christian perspective on power and authority. Traditionally, Christian political thought has emphasized the idea that all earthly power and authority have limits and are ultimately accountable to God. This has led to various views on the relationship between the Church and the state, the role of moral and ethical considerations in governance, and the importance of checks and balances in political systems. Throughout history, various Christian thinkers such as Augustine, Aquinas, and Luther have offered perspectives on these and other political issues. They have grappled with questions about the nature of justice, the role of government, and the rights and duties of citizens. These discussions have often reflected the Christian values of justice, mercy, and the pursuit of peace. In the modern era, Christian political philosophy continues to engage with current issues such as democracy, human rights, economic inequality, and environmental stewardship. It challenges political systems to reflect values like compassion, fairness, and a commitment to the well-being of all. In summary, Christian thought has played a significant role in shaping political philosophy. It has provided a unique perspective on the nature of society, the role of government, and the rights and responsibilities of individuals, influencing the way we think about and engage in political life. Chapter 30. Modern Social Justice and Christian Philosophy. The concept of social justice, addressing issues like equality, rights, and the fair distribution of resources, is deeply intertwined with Christian philosophy. In modern times, Christian thinkers have increasingly focused on how the teachings of Christianity can be applied to social justice issues, advocating for changes in society that reflect Christian values of compassion, fairness, and care for the marginalized. Christian philosophy's approach to social justice is rooted in the belief that every person is valuable and deserving of respect and dignity. This belief drives the Christian commitment to social justice, emphasizing the need to support and uplift those who are poor, oppressed, or marginalized. It's about seeing the face of God in every person and acting to address injustice wherever it's found. One of the key principles in this area is the preferential option for the poor. This principle calls for a focus on the needs of the poorest and most vulnerable in society, ensuring that they receive particular attention in efforts to improve social conditions. It's based on the idea that helping those who are most in need is a fundamental aspect of living out the Christian faith. Christian social justice also involves advocating for systemic change. This includes challenging unjust structures in society, such as economic inequality, racism, and environmental degradation. Christian philosophers and activists argue that it's not enough to provide charity. There also needs to be action to change the systems that cause or contribute to these problems. In addition, modern Christian social justice emphasizes the importance of peace and reconciliation. This includes working towards resolving conflicts, promoting understanding and forgiveness, and seeking peaceful solutions to problems at both local and global levels. In recent years, Christian social justice has also become increasingly concerned with issues like environmental stewardship, recognizing the need to care for the earth as part of respecting the dignity of all creation. This aspect of social justice reflects the understanding that environmental issues have a significant impact on the poorest and most vulnerable populations. In summary, modern social justice within Christian philosophy is about applying Christian teachings to address the pressing issues of our time. It calls for both individual and collective action to create a more just, compassionate, and equitable world. This approach to social justice is a vital part of living out the Christian faith in the modern world, reflecting a commitment to love and serve not just in words, but in concrete actions that make a difference in the world. Part 9. Interfaith Philosophical Dialogues. Chapter 31. Christianity and Eastern Philosophies. The dialogue between Christianity and Eastern philosophies offers a fascinating exploration of how different traditions understand life, the divine, and the path to fulfillment or salvation. Eastern philosophies, including Hinduism, Buddhism, and Taoism, have distinct perspectives that can both contrast and complement Christian thought. One area of dialogue is the concept of the divine or ultimate reality. In Christianity, God is typically understood as a personal creator God who is involved in the world and in human affairs. In contrast, some Eastern philosophies like Hinduism have a more diverse understanding of the divine, which can include both personal and impersonal aspects. Buddhism, for instance, does not focus on a creator God, but on the path to enlightenment and the cessation of suffering. Another point of interaction is the understanding of the self and its ultimate goal. Christianity traditionally teaches that the soul's salvation and eternal life with God are the ultimate goals. In contrast, Eastern philosophies like Buddhism and Hinduism speak of concepts like nirvana or moksha, which involve liberation from cycles of rebirth and the realization of a deeper unity or truth. Ethics and the path to a good or fulfilled life are also areas of dialogue. Both Christian and Eastern philosophies emphasize compassion, love, and the importance of ethical living. However, they often differ in their approaches and justifications for these ethical principles. For example, the concept of karma in Hinduism and Buddhism, which involves the effects of a person's actions determining their future, offers a different perspective on ethical living compared to Christian teachings on divine grace and forgiveness. Mysticism and the direct experience of the divine is another common ground. Both Christian mysticism and aspects of Eastern spirituality emphasize the importance of personal, direct experience of the divine or ultimate reality. This has led to dialogues and comparative studies on mystical experiences and practices across these traditions. In summary, the dialogue between Christianity and Eastern philosophies opens up rich possibilities for understanding different perspectives on the divine, the nature of reality, the self, and the path to fulfillment or enlightenment. This dialogue challenges each tradition to think deeply about its beliefs and practices and offers opportunities for mutual learning and growth. Chapter 32: Abrahamic Traditions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In this exploration, we delve into the philosophical dialogues between the three major Abrahamic traditions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. These religions, while distinct in their beliefs and practices, share a common heritage in the figure of Abraham and have many overlapping themes and ideas. One of the key areas of dialogue between these faiths is their understanding of God. All three religions worship a monotheistic, all-powerful and all-knowing God. However, their conceptions of God have some differences. Judaism emphasizes a strong tradition of covenant and law, with a focus on a personal yet transcendent God. Christianity introduces the concept of the Trinity, viewing Jesus Christ as the Son of God and part of a triune Godhead. Islam emphasizes the absolute oneness and uniqueness of God, or Allah, and considers Muhammad as his final prophet. Another significant area of discussion is the interpretation of sacred texts. Judaism is rooted in the Hebrew Bible or Tanakh, Christianity in the Bible, which includes both the Old and New Testaments, and Islam in the Quran. While there are shared stories and figures across these texts, each religion has its unique interpretation and understanding of these narratives. Ethics and moral law are also central to these dialogues. All three traditions emphasize the importance of ethical living and provide guidelines for moral behavior. Judaism is known for its detailed laws in the Torah, Christianity for its emphasis on love and grace as taught by Jesus, and Islam for its comprehensive Sharia law derived from the Quran and Hadith. The concept of prophecy and revelation is another area where these faiths intersect and diverge. All three believe in prophets who convey God's message to humanity. However, they differ in their views on who these prophets are and the significance of their revelations. Finally, the understanding of human nature and the path to salvation or fulfillment varies among these traditions. Judaism focuses on living a righteous life in accordance with God's laws, Christianity on salvation through faith in Jesus Christ, and Islam on submission to Allah's will and following the 5 pillars of Islam. Dialogues among Judaism, Christianity, and Islam reveal both shared foundations and profound differences in belief and practice. These conversations enhance mutual understanding and respect, and they allow for deeper exploration of one's own faith through the lens of another. They highlight the rich diversity of religious thought and the potential for interfaith learning and collaboration. Chapter 33: Global Philosophical Traditions and Christianity. The interaction of Christianity with global philosophical traditions presents a fascinating tapestry of ideas and beliefs. These dialogues extend beyond the familiar Western context, embracing the rich diversity of thought from cultures around the world. One significant area of dialogue is with African philosophical traditions. African philosophy, with its rich oral traditions and diverse cultural expressions, offers unique perspectives on community, ethics, and the relationship with the natural world. These perspectives often emphasize the interconnectedness of all life and the importance of communal relationships, enriching the Christian understanding of community and stewardship. In the Americas, particularly among indigenous communities, there are philosophies that focus on harmony with nature, communal living, and a deep sense of spirituality. Engaging with these philosophies has challenged and enriched Christian theology, especially in its understanding of creation, the sacredness of the earth, and social justice. Asian philosophical traditions such as Confucianism and Shinto also bring unique insights. Confucianism, with its emphasis on social harmony, moral development, and respect for tradition and hierarchy, offers a contrast and complement to Christian ethical teachings. Shinto, with its focus on ritual, reverence for nature, and emphasis on purity, can deepen the Christian appreciation for the sacred in everyday life. In addition to these, the philosophies of the Pacific Islands, with their concepts of communal ownership, respect for ancestors, and deep connection to the land and sea, provide a distinct viewpoint on community, identity, and our relationship with the environment. These global dialogues challenge Christianity to think beyond its traditional boundaries. They prompt a re-examination of Christian concepts in light of different cultural and philosophical backgrounds. This exchange of ideas is not just about understanding other cultures, but also about deepening and enriching the Christian faith. These interactions show that Christian philosophy is not a static entity, but a dynamic and evolving tradition. Engaging with global philosophical traditions allows Christianity to grow and adapt, incorporating new insights and perspectives. This ongoing dialogue is a testament to the universality and adaptability of Christian thought in a diverse and interconnected world. Part 10. The Future of Christian Philosophy. Chapter 34. Contemporary Philosophical Challenges to Christianity. Today, Christianity faces a range of philosophical challenges that push the boundaries of traditional belief and practice. These challenges arise from various modern philosophical movements, scientific advancements, and cultural changes. One of the major challenges is secularism, the idea that life and societies can be structured without reference to religious beliefs. As secularism grows, Christianity must grapple with how to remain relevant and meaningful in societies that increasingly separate religious faith from public life. Another challenge comes from moral relativism, the belief that there are no absolute moral truths and that morality varies between cultures and individuals. This perspective questions the universal moral principles that Christianity often upholds and challenges the Church to articulate its moral teachings in a pluralistic and diverse world. The rise of scientific understanding also poses challenges. Scientific explanations for the origins of the universe and life, such as the Big Bang theory and evolution, often conflict with literal interpretations of biblical creation stories. This has led to debates within Christianity about how to reconcile scientific knowledge with scriptural interpretations. Additionally, the problem of evil and suffering continues to be a significant philosophical challenge. In a world where suffering and injustice are prevalent, Christian explanations of a benevolent and omnipotent God are continually scrutinized and questioned. Postmodernism, with its skepticism of grand narratives and emphasis on subjective experiences, also challenges Christian claims of universal truth. This philosophical approach questions the idea of an objective religious truth, promoting instead a view that truth is relative and constructed by cultural contexts. In response to these challenges, Christian philosophy is called to engage deeply with these contemporary issues, re-examining and articulating its doctrines and beliefs in ways that resonate with modern understanding and experiences. These challenges invite Christians to think critically about their faith, encouraging a dynamic and responsive Christian philosophy that is both faithful to its traditions and relevant to the modern world. Chapter 35. Christian Philosophy in a Pluralistic World. Living in a pluralistic world where a multitude of beliefs, cultures, and worldviews coexist presents unique challenges and opportunities for Christian philosophy. This diversity requires a thoughtful approach to how Christian thought engages with, responds to, and coexists with a wide array of perspectives. One of the key considerations is the concept of tolerance and understanding. Christian philosophy in a pluralistic world involves respecting and acknowledging the validity of other beliefs while maintaining one's own faith principles. It's about engaging in open and respectful dialogue with other worldviews, seeking mutual understanding rather than confrontation. Another aspect is the challenge of relativism, which claims that truth is subjective and varies between cultures and individuals. Christian philosophy, which often advocates for absolute truths based on biblical teachings, needs to navigate how to assert its beliefs in a context where absolute claims are often met with skepticism. Additionally, pluralism invites Christian philosophy to re-examine its teachings and practices, ensuring they are relevant and inclusive. This involves addressing how Christianity can contribute positively to societal issues, such as social justice, peace-building, and environmental stewardship in a diverse and interconnected world. Christian philosophy in a pluralistic world also involves the challenge of evangelism and mission. In a context where many different beliefs coexist, Christian philosophy needs to consider how to share its faith in ways that are respectful and sensitive to different cultural and religious backgrounds. The pluralistic context also offers an opportunity for Christian philosophy to learn from other traditions. Engaging with different philosophies and religions can deepen understanding, foster growth, and enrich Christian thought. In summary, Christian philosophy in a pluralistic world requires a balance between maintaining the integrity of the Christian faith and engaging openly and respectfully with a diversity of perspectives. It's about being confident in one's beliefs while also being open to dialogue and learning from others, contributing to a world where diverse viewpoints are not just tolerated, but valued and engaged with constructively. Chapter 36. The Role and Relevance of Christian Philosophy Today. In today's world, Christian philosophy continues to play a crucial role in shaping ideas, values, and discussions about various aspects of life. Its relevance is seen in how it addresses contemporary issues, informs ethical decisions, and contributes to societal and cultural conversations. One of the primary roles of Christian philosophy today is in providing a moral and ethical framework. In a world facing complex issues like climate change, economic inequality, and technological advancements, Christian philosophy offers perspectives based on values like stewardship, justice, and the dignity of the human person. These perspectives are vital in guiding ethical actions and policies. Christian philosophy also plays a role in personal development and well-being. It encourages individuals to explore the deeper questions of meaning, purpose, and identity. In a fast-paced, often materialistic world, the teachings and reflections of Christian philosophy provide a space for individuals to contemplate their lives and their relationships with others and the divine. Moreover, Christian philosophy contributes to the dialogue on social justice. It champions the cause of the marginalized and oppressed, echoing the biblical call to care for the least among us. This aspect of Christian philosophy drives advocacy and action in areas like poverty alleviation, human rights, and social reform. Another important role is in fostering interfaith and intercultural understanding. As the world becomes more interconnected, Christian philosophy can promote dialogue and understanding between different religious and cultural groups, contributing to a more peaceful and cohesive global community. Christian philosophy also interacts with and contributes to other disciplines like science, arts, and politics. It offers unique insights into these fields, grounding discussions in a framework that considers moral, spiritual, and existential dimensions. In summary, the role and relevance of Christian philosophy today are multifaceted. It continues to provide ethical guidance, personal insight, social advocacy, and a framework for dialogue and integration across various fields. Christian philosophy remains a vital and dynamic part of the ongoing conversation about how we understand our world and our place in it. Chapter 37. Emerging Philosophical Trends and Christian Thought. Christian philosophy is not static. It is constantly evolving in response to new ideas and challenges. Emerging philosophical trends, such as postmodernism, environmental philosophy, and the philosophy of technology, are influencing and being influenced by Christian thought. Postmodernism, with its skepticism towards universal truths and narratives, challenges traditional Christian claims of absolute truth. This has led to new approaches in theology and philosophy that emphasize the contextual and narrative nature of belief. Christian philosophers are exploring ways to articulate faith in a postmodern context, focusing on the personal and communal aspects of Christianity and viewing biblical narratives as a source of meaning and identity. Environmental philosophy, which addresses the ethical dimensions of human interaction with the natural world, is increasingly relevant. With growing concern over environmental issues, Christian philosophers are re-examining theological doctrines related to creation, stewardship, and sustainability. This has led to a renewed emphasis on the Christian responsibility to care for the earth, seeing environmental stewardship as an integral part of faith. The philosophy of technology is another emerging area. As technology becomes increasingly prevalent in all aspects of life, Christian philosophers are exploring its ethical implications and how it shapes human identity and relationships. They are addressing questions about the role of technology in society, the nature of human interaction with technology, and the ethical use of technological advancements. Additionally, there is growing interest in how Christian philosophy can contribute to global ethics and politics. In a world facing issues like global inequality, migration, and international conflict, Christian philosophers are engaging with these challenges, offering perspectives based on principles of justice, peace, and the common good. Emerging philosophical trends are prompting Christian philosophy to adapt and respond in new ways. These trends are opening up new avenues for exploration and dialogue, challenging Christian thinkers to rethink traditional doctrines and practices, and to engage actively with contemporary cultural, ethical, and intellectual challenges. This dynamic interaction ensures that Christian philosophy remains a vibrant and relevant voice in the ongoing search for understanding and meaning in the modern world. Part 11. Conclusion. Chapter 38. Reflecting on the journey, philosophy and faith. As we reflect on the journey through the landscape of philosophy and faith, it becomes evident how deeply intertwined these two realms are. Philosophy, with its pursuit of wisdom and understanding, and faith, with its search for meaning and connection with the divine, have both challenged and enriched each other throughout history. This journey has shown us that philosophy and faith are not opposing forces, but complementary paths to understanding life's deepest questions. Philosophy offers tools of reason, logic, and critical thinking, helping to clarify and articulate matters of faith. At the same time, faith provides a perspective that transcends purely rational understanding, offering a sense of purpose and a vision of a reality that goes beyond the material world. The interaction between philosophy and faith has been a dynamic and fruitful one. Philosophers have grappled with theological concepts, and theologians have engaged with philosophical ideas, leading to a deeper and more nuanced understanding of both. This dialogue has shaped how we think about God, existence, morality, and the human condition. Reflecting on this journey also reveals the evolving nature of both philosophy and faith. As new challenges and questions arise, both disciplines adapt, responding to the changing contexts and understandings of each era. This adaptability is a testament to the vitality and relevance of philosophy and faith in addressing the ever-changing complexities of human life. In conclusion, the journey through philosophy and faith is an ongoing one, filled with continual exploration and discovery. It invites us to keep questioning, learning, and growing, deepening our understanding of ourselves, the world, and the divine. This journey is not just an intellectual exercise, but a deeply personal and communal endeavor, shaping our beliefs, values, and how we live our lives. Chapter 39. The ongoing dialogue between philosophy and Christianity. The dialogue between philosophy and Christianity is a continuous and evolving conversation, one that has spanned centuries and continues to be of great importance today. This dialogue is not just an academic exercise. It touches upon the deepest questions of existence, morality, and the meaning of life. Throughout history, Christian thinkers have engaged with philosophical ideas, using them to explore and articulate their faith. Similarly, philosophers have often grappled with theological concepts, even those who have been critical of religion. This exchange has been fruitful, leading to new insights and understandings in both philosophy and Christian theology. In this dialogue, philosophy challenges Christianity to think critically, to question, and to justify its beliefs and practices. Philosophical inquiry pushes Christian thought to clarify its doctrines and to engage with contemporary intellectual challenges. It encourages a faith that is not only felt, but also understood and reasoned. Conversely, Christianity enriches philosophy by providing a perspective that goes beyond the empirical and the rational. It offers a vision of reality that includes the spiritual, the moral, and the transcendent. Christian thought brings to philosophy questions of ultimate meaning, purpose, and value. This ongoing dialogue is crucial in a world that is increasingly pluralistic and where religious beliefs and philosophical ideas intersect in complex ways. It fosters mutual understanding, respect, and the possibility of finding common ground, even in the midst of differences. As we look to the future, this dialogue between philosophy and Christianity is likely to become even more important. It holds the potential for deeper understanding not only of faith and reason, but also of the human experience in its fullest sense. This conversation, ever-evolving, invites us to continue exploring, questioning, and seeking truth wherever it may be found. Chapter 40. Future Directions and Final Thoughts. As we consider the future of Christian philosophy, it's clear that this journey is far from complete. The landscape of thought and belief is continually changing, and Christian philosophy must adapt and grow to meet new challenges and opportunities. Looking ahead, one of the key areas where Christian philosophy can contribute is in the realm of global ethics and the common good. In a world facing issues like climate change, poverty, and conflict, Christian thought offers perspectives on justice, stewardship, and peace that are deeply needed. These perspectives can help guide actions and policies towards a more just and sustainable world. Another important direction is the dialogue between science and faith. As scientific understanding continues to advance, Christian philosophy has the opportunity to engage with these developments, exploring how they intersect with and inform theological beliefs. This dialogue is crucial for maintaining the relevance of faith in an increasingly scientific and technological world. Additionally, the growing diversity and pluralism of our global society present both a challenge and an opportunity for Christian philosophy. Engaging with a variety of cultures, religions, and worldviews is essential for fostering mutual understanding and respect. This engagement can enrich Christian thought, allowing it to learn from and contribute to a broader conversation about the human condition. Christian philosophy also has a significant role to play in personal and communal life. It offers guidance on how to live a life of meaning and purpose, grounded in faith and informed by reason. In a world where many are searching for meaning, Christian philosophy provides a framework for exploring and answering life's deepest questions. In conclusion, the future of Christian philosophy is full of potential. It stands at the crossroads of faith and reason, tradition and innovation, offering a unique and valuable perspective on the challenges and questions of our time. As we move forward, the continued dialogue between philosophy and Christianity promises to enrich both, providing wisdom and insight for navigating the complexities of modern life.